Habib, CEO of Full Stack Generative AI platform and a writer. And also here is Jordan Schneider, creator of the China Talk podcast and newsletter, and a former China tech analyst at the Rhodium Group. Jordan, I want to begin with you. I laid out there a lot. It's a complicated story. Let me just ask it very clearly. Do you believe that some NVIDIA semiconductors that are being sold to Singapore are actually ending up in China? Your own opinion.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to accuse anyone of breaking the law, but I think it's maybe we can start with another part of that pie chart, which is the 15% of sales that are still going into China. Who's buying that? Tencent, ByteDance, Alibaba, DeepSeek. And these companies aren't dumb, and they know they're not being sold potato chips. The Biden administration, over the course of its tenure from October 2022 up until the last week of the administration, slowly but surely increased the or lowered the ability for NVIDIA to sell chips, but NVIDIA kept making chips that were right on the line. And I think what you saw with DeepSeek, regardless of whether they're using literally banned chips, is the fact that they have been able to do some really incredible engineering with what the U.S. government is allowing to get into China.
Okay, so I want to be hold on, because you said it pretty clearly. So you're not accusing anybody, but you think some of these chips are ending up with Chinese companies, which is why we care, because not all NVIDIA chips are banned, but the best ones are. Let me reiterate. I have been to Singapore, but not in a while. It is a small city state. The room for data centers, listen, they're growing. They're still big and fast growing into data centers. But your thought, Jordan, is that it seems weird that 1/5 of their sales is going to a relatively small city state that, while growing the data centers, is hardly Loudoun County, Virginia.
It's definitely weird. And I think another trend that you're seeing is this reselling and this enormous build out we've seen in Malaysia over the past 18 months, where a lot of neo clouds, so not necessarily, Azure or AWS, are popping up that have some sort of Chinese connection. So another way that Chinese firms can get access to this sort of compute is not by directly importing it into the mainland, but setting up subsidiaries or signing partnerships with new cloud companies that have access to NVIDIA's best and, NVIDIA's top in class chips, but just happen to be in Johor, Malaysia, as opposed to Shenzhen.
I'm glad you made that point, Jordan. It was exactly the same point that I heard from a friend source who lives in Singapore, which is, look, everybody knows Singapore is a leading re-export hub, but there's also Malaysia right across the border. Singapore may not have the space, but Malaysia has it. So that might be one area to look at in terms of where and who's leasing those facilities. So, we talked to Tay Kim last hour, who said, look, even if you could smuggle the old leading edge chips in a suitcase, you won't be able to do that with Blackwell. These things are like tanks. So you're not going to be carrying them into China that way. You're going to have to rely, if you're trying to get around export controls, on setting them up and basically releasing them from other nations.
What we have been saying, Kelly, for 2 years is this big breakthrough, right, that you don't need billions to train state-of-the-art models. We have proven that. We've built state-of-the-art models for less than $1 million GPUs, right? I don't think it is a reason to be bearish, because we are on the cusp of an enormous agentic AI explosion that is going to require more inference than folks can even fathom. Whether or not Trump tightens restrictions coming out of his meeting with Jensen today, the only way for the U.S. to stay ahead in generative AI is to continue to achieve revolutionary breakthroughs in training and model architecture. The brute force method for training models is dead.